It was 4 years ago. My mother and father had went out for the night, leaving me to babysit Hazel and Sunny, my little brother and sister. Sunny, who was 12 at the time, and my little brother, who was only a toddler, were already asleep in their rooms, so my 16-year-old self figured it was going to be a good night. After brushing my teeth and combing my hair, all the nightly stuff, I passed out in my bed around 9 o'clock. Everything seemed fine until I jolted awake sometime in the middle of the night. My whole room had this eerie feeling to it. I contemplated trying to fall back asleep, but decided that while I'm awake, I might as well check in on my siblings. I was beginning to sit up, and that's when I saw it. This tall, thin silhouette of a person standing in the far corner of my room, slumped over like some sort of dummy. I knew it wasn't either of my parents, as this person was much skinnier than them. I forced myself to sink back into my bed, and I tried to make it seem like I had never woken up. I could feel myself breathing, and heart was beating so fast, I was afraid whoever or whatever it was could hear it. And as I laid there, contemplating what to do, I heard distant cries echoing out from the baby monitor. This is it, I thought. The perfect chance to leave the room without looking suspicious. I immediately stood up and trailed over to my door and out into the hall, shutting it quickly behind me. As soon as I was sure they wouldn't be able to hear me, I raced down the hall to my brother's room. Much to my joy, his cry ceased the very moment I picked him up into my arms. Heading out into the hall into my sister's room, I could hear my doors opening and closing. I know it was mine because of the sound of my rubby chimes echoed down the hall. Just to give you a layout of the hall, my room and my sister's room are side by side on the left, and Hazel's and my parents are on the right, as well as the lining closet. So there's no way I could have made it into her room without being seen. So I did the only thing I could think of, and I ducked into the closet. I could see under the door just enough to catch sight of a pair of feet shuffling across the hall, down the stairs into the living room, all the while ear-piercing scratches were echoing off of the halls. Then, in a horrifying tone, the person yelled something up to us.
Sonny, come down here. I need to show you something.
There are no words to describe the fear I was feeling. The voice, it was me. Or at least it sounded like me. How does it sound like me? I peeked my head out of the closet and peered down the hall at my sister's door. I prayed that she was asleep. I prayed that she hadn't heard the voice. But she did. Because less than a few seconds later, she slowly emerged from her room and slowly began making her way down the hall. I waited until she was directly in front of the closet before latching onto her nightgown and forcing her in. It's not me, Sonny. I heard it too. Pounding erupted from downstairs, and I could hear bangs all throughout the house. Not the sound of things breaking, but more like an animal scratching and clawing things. I then did the bravest thing I've ever done as a human on Earth. I handed my brother to Sonny and opened the door quietly. I'm going to run down the stairs to the foyer. When you can't hear my footsteps anymore, take your brother across to the street to Pastor Paul's house and call the police. I'll try to make it out to the patio door and meet you there.
What about you?
She cries, tightening her shaking arms around my surprisingly peaceful brother. I honestly didn't know how to respond, so I just kissed her forehead and slipped out into the hall. While walking, I kept forgetting exactly what I was doing, and I would trip over myself. At one point, I missed a step and almost flew down the stairs, only being saved by the railing. When I reached the bottom of the stairs, it didn't take long to see where the person was at. Just beside me, in the corner of the room by the TV. I know they can see me. There's no denying that, but I'm not sure if they know that I can see them yet, so I did the only thing I could think to do, and I just ran a full-on sprint to the foyer. As I went running, footsteps pound after me, one each louder and more sickening than the rest. My adrenaline kicks in, and I speed up and dart through the kitchen to the foyer, where I manage to slip out of the patio door over the gate. I can barely keep my feet moving at this point, but it doesn't matter, because I'm no longer being chased. I glance back at the patio door through the darkness, illuminated just through the light of the street lamps. I could see a hunched figure peering through the glass of the patio door. It was hard to tell what gender the person was, as they had barely any hair on their head and no facial hair. The one thing I did see, though, was the sickening smile across their face, a smile that still haunts my dreams to this day. My siblings and I reunited across the street. The cops never found anyone, and despite being a bit traumatized, we never had problems with intruders again. My parents still haven't told me the story, but one thing's for sure: humans are capable of dark and terrible